Getting ready to run a load out to Ohio here this evening. This year, if it goes like it has this past month, it'll be phenomenal.
That was the voice of Quinwood, West Virginia-based flatbed owner-operator George Kincaid, working with direct customers hauling wood products around his region and brokers for landscape materials, and commenting on a surge in flatbed work and pricing the first months of the year. We were talking in early April, and Kincaid remained hopeful for the rest of the year, even as economic jitters continued in the wider economy. I'm Todd Dills, your host for this edition of Overdrive Radio. We're going to get a window on my feature story about Kincaid's one-truck business. You can find a link to that story attendant to George Kincaid getting the April Trucker of the Month nod from Overdrive in the show notes wherever you're listening to this podcast. Alternately, just get over to the Trucker of the Year section of overdriveonline.com where you can still nominate your own business or that of another deserving owner too. Kincaid's that, for sure. The sharp handle on maintenance with a decidedly do-it-yourself approach. What's more, a whole lot can be said for doing something that you love, as he puts it. And a positive outlook on his life and work has been part and parcel of his success. Love of trucking has been with him since he was a kid, when he and his younger brother both grew up with an eye toward exactly what they wanted to do when they were men.
That's pretty much all we wanted to do growing up, was drive a truck and have one with our name on it.
On the other side of a break, we'll dive into Kincaid's story, but also that of another owner, John Rissler, whose Horse and Buggy Express trucking business out of California and Missouri morphed into the Horse and Buggy Accessories Chrome Shop he now operates out of the Crossroads Shopping Plaza at US 50, Missouri 87, home of the annual Crossroads Truck Meet Show. I spent the day out at the Crossroads May 3rd for this year's show and sat down with Rissler to hear his story, stretching back 4 years now to the time he and another brother, Delton Rissler, decided to build a new headquarters there. What's it like to be the proprietor of a small fleet, a chrome shop with Missouri and Pennsylvania locations, and a truck show all at once? Well,
it never comes without a hitch.
Keep tuned for more.
Your diesel engine works hard. Howe's Diesel Defender works harder, while adding maximum lubricity to protect your engine from corrosion and improve fuel conductivity. Defender uses specialized IDX4 detergent to rapidly clean fuel injectors and prevent the return of harmful deposits. It safely removes water, which helps inhibit microbial growth and leaves only pure fuel to burn. That'll get you a guaranteed 5% increase in fuel economy or more. Want better power and performance? Get Howe's Diesel Defender.
You can find more information on all of Howe's fuel treatments, including Diesel Defender, at the company website. That's HOWES, HowesProducts.com. Here's California, Missouri-based John Rissler speaking from his office at Horse and Buggy Accessories as the Crossroads Truck Meet Show went on around us. As soon as we sat down, his phone rang, as it would throughout our talk. This call he had to take, though, from the man who was ferrying show attendees from the car parking area up to the show on a hayride set-up flatbed trailer toted by an old farm tractor that had developed a pretty significant oil leak, as it turned out.
It never comes without a hitch.
A hitch indeed, but they would overcome. Here's John, stretching back to the turn of the century for the story of how the Horse and Buggy Accessories Chrome Shop and the Crossroads Truck Meet came to be.
Of course, I was selling lights. My biggest thing was LEDs. I was selling back in 2000. And then we this building, we were 5 years up here now. We built a new building, and then we decided first year we're going to have an open house and have a show for just everybody come in and enjoy the time. And then I started reaching out to vendors, and they're all like, yes, we're all for it. I mean, these guys buy our parts, and they started giving me a list of giveaways. And then we started putting the giveaways together and finding that, this would be entertaining to give back to the public. And the biggest thing and the thought is that it's anybody that puts on a show of any kind knows it is extreme in cost, and it just, there's a lot of work behind the scene that goes on to put a show on. So it was a struggle the first 2 years because we didn't know anything. We had no idea what's going to happen. And you got to bring food vendors and all that. You have no clue where you're going. Well, we got off the ground, and what it became is the thought was to bring it as a family-oriented show. So what we wanted is, okay, the dad or mom out there on the road have a weekend off that all the family will be here, and everything we try to direct to have entertainment for the children and the family. Mainly that's where it started out with. We're thanking our good customers and our trucking industry that really helped me build and grow to this point. But now the steady part is the families.
Sure.
We want, and we found it was really positive. We started hearing a lot of feedback, and I mean, this is entertaining. I mean, it's a no trophy show. So I always felt, though, if you took the time to clean your truck up, I want to give back something to you too. I mean, I understand that. And as far as like me and Karen is driving truck all them years, and we had the boys, we went to a lot of shows, but I tend to stay away from what I call the political shows. Ones that are oriented to be, hey, this is a great time. Right. So we went out, no trophies, but then we started making a plaque. Right at the get-go, we made this stainless steel plaque for every truck at the first get-go. And then we found out how costly that gets to make these plaques.
Yeah, 'cause the more trucks you get, the more expensive that
It gets crazy. Well, you never know how many, and you date them. So it's fruitless to say, well, we'll make 100 that, will cover everybody. But then we started doing a limit to 100. That way, okay, we got 100 plaques. After that, if it's 50, 150, whatever, it's just... Right. And I put out the word, you register early, you get a plaque.
Okay.
So even if you don't get the truck on the grounds the day of, as long as you register throughout the year, you're going to get one of these plaques. And it's going to go to an X amount. This year, we did 80 of them. Okay. And, of course, a week before, we got another 50 people. Or right now, we're at 35 more registered. And I already heard, well, we didn't get a plaque. Well, don't wait till the week of. Yeah. We just can't. We had to make this is a cutoff. But on the other hand, the plaque is to go to you for your efforts to be here. But on the other hand, you registering early helps me in what we can produce. We can produce the food deal at supper time on Saturday night, all that. It's major for me to have these pre-registered just to get an idea. And that was another incentive. Then we started doing, we made a fee to come in. So we said, well, you pre-register at $30, and then the week of or something, it's $50. And that was another, just to bring in and say, okay, I'm committing this time and that. Now, we get grab bags back. Well, the plaques alone are the money of registering.
Sure.
But that's not what I'm intending to pay. I'm intending, now you started. When you come in, you get a food ticket, you get all that, and then you automatically get it registered in the giveaway for the trucks as you roll in. Right. So we got the plaques, and then as you roll in, you get the grab bag, and you get automatically registered in the big drawings. And this year, it's over 20,000. It's just growing. Of products.
Yeah. And that's all sponsors and you guys as well.
Yep, it's all vendors. It's horse and buggy, we kick in the food and stuff like that, but the biggest thing is the vendors are on it for us. And I mean, we got to give them a lot of credit. And I don't know if I just say that we give the credit for the truck drivers to be here.
Oh yeah.
Well, to me, that's their number one or number two. Or number one is we also, thank God for that we're able to do this.
Sure.
He gave us ability. He gives us the time, gives us a day, and the rain, sunshine, whatever it brings, we know it's a blessing no matter what. We always, every year after the show, there's something we can point to that it was a phenomenal that it just happened.
Yeah, sure.
And we know where it comes from. Sure. So we all may give that blessing to God for helping us in the shows as well as then the truck drivers, yes, and the families second, and then the vendors to help us to give out to these. Now, we have a store deal where you come in and buy from the store from Friday and Saturday, and that there is, we started that soon after. I think we did the first year, so that if you don't have a truck here and all, you just come in, just buy something. You're in for a drawing separate.
Okay.
It's a separate whole thing. It's not, the truck thing is directly funneled through the vendors,
Right.
but the store is, we got a lot of drawings going on in there too. My brother was one of them to kick off do the children. You got to dump candy out there halfway through the day, or else they get tired. So we've been keeping that as a tradition. At 2:30 in the day, we dump whole piles of candy out in the middle, and they can fill up.
Is this out here in the space?
Yep, out in the center.
Or...
You'll see at 2:30. We'll
Okay.
announce it. Now,
That's cool.
there's always something missing in a show. You never know. You always have variables, and you used to always think the weather was a factor. Well, there's a lot of other variables, and a lot of people that step up to the plate and volunteers. So this year is going to be the first year that we're going to call out the volunteers. Everybody that volunteered at least an hour, 2 hours of their time is going into a drawing of $500 cash and a $200 certificate and a $100 certificate. Yeah, so we're hoping to give back to them as well. We do give every one of them a shirt, and every one of them gets a supper, gets to eat, all that. But I want to top it off a little bit. When we do all the big drawings at 6 o'clock at night there before supper, then we give them a little bit as well. And I always try to, give a ovation about, hey, the helpers, but this is going to be the first time. We're going to try this tonight and see what happens. But
So you guys built this building. One thing that won't be obvious to people that might be hearing this is that the building is in the shape of a cross.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
that wasn't by chance. That was
You guys
from
did that.
Our drawing, and this is how we build it, so we can actually build on and keep the cross formation going.
Cool.
So as long as we're here now, next generation, I don't know what happened, but that is, I don't know how to tell you to make it the biggest point. God is behind the scene. It's not, or how, I don't even say it. He's the forefront of my life in it. That's what it's all about. As family with God and involved in it. Otherwise, we could have never grown where we're at. That's. I don't even know how to tell you how much that is part of our work.
It's certainly Rissler country in the area around the Crossroads Plaza, with horse and buggy accessories and diesel power plus, the latter operated by the team led by John's youngest brother, Delton Rissler. In addition to John and Delton, there are three other brothers, all trucking themselves, including 2024 Overdrive Small Fleet champ Paul Rissler, Arlen then driving for Paul, as well as owner-operator David Rissler.
It was six of us.
6 of you.
And we had one sister in there.
Okay. And then, but a bunch of you worked for your father and your mother.
We all started out in the trucking life,
Okay.
except for Delton. He's the youngest one.
Okay.
He never got on the road, but now he is on the road every weekend with the Tractor Pulling Association.
That's
pulling
right.
his things. And my sister passed away. I don't know how many years ago it was due to cancer. We were all in trucking except for Delton that day. They took her in. I was actually coming back from the East Coast. Paul was coming back from the East Coast, and this is another thing that is just ironic. We all ended up at her bedside before she passed away, and we're standing there as a trucking family. Any trucker, I understand it. That is amazing to happen. That we literally drove the truck up to the hospital, had somebody pick us up down right at the shoulder of the ramp, take us to the hospital that day.
What was her name?
Loretta.
Loretta.
Yeah, well, she was married. Kilmer.
Kilmer.
Yeah, they're married me. Yeah. And actually, that's her son that is calling me about the tractor. Yeah, he's the one that does the
Moving people from the parking lot and stuff. Yeah.
dedicated to that job.
You started a trucking company yourself in later years after you guys worked for your dad. So that was called Horse and Buggy Express as well, right?
Want to jump in that story?
Yeah, sure.
Right. So what happened, Well, I was still running. Paul had already started Rissler Transport.
Okay.
My brother Dave did his to Dave Rissler, and I was driving for my dad. I got married and started running the team, and we decided we were gonna either buy the truck we were driving or buy a truck and change over. There were some insurance deals. There were some things went on there. It wasn't that we had a family deal, but it was cheaper to get your own authority back then and change over than it was to keep running the Rissler trucking name for me as a owner of the truck. Okay. And well, the Marmon we were running, I put 1 million miles on there. My wife adds a little bit at the end there. Okay. And then, so we decided to go ahead and purchase a new Kenworth. Got in with a good guy to do that. And of course, she was pregnant with a baby when the truck showed up in December. And we actually drove it under Rissler for a little bit. Then we decided to do our own authority on it. And everybody in the area was Rissler something in trucking. We had a male Masseretti. So we decided we got to get out of this. We got to break this mold so that we have the male director, right? When I was younger, I hauled what we call the team horse and buggy people. I used to haul them. Actually, when I got my driver's license, 16, from there on, that's what I was doing. I was hauling people, driving bus, and all that stuff. So that's where the horse and buggy thing came around. It was nothing in the background, and I respect horses, but I'll never have a horse. But we decided, well, let's just do horse and buggy express on the truck,
right? And
that fitted in. So we threw that out. We started. We had a baby in February. That was 2 months after we had the truck. So it was shut down for a month. And about 2 weeks later, he's back in the truck and we're trucking. Right. And then we started hitting some of these shows and just these get-togethers, and the way it started growing. And well, I started selling lights a long time before anything else. I mean, finally one day I got into too many reps wanting to know where this store is because we were selling all this stuff. So we built a little building and just went and got a name, Horse and Buggy Accessories.
Down there on the right?
Yeah, down at my house. Yeah. I had to do that because the reps were wondering how we're doing all this out of the truck. And it turned out to be unbelievable blessed with it. And then about 2 years at the truck show, I think it was about 2 years ago, I told them out there in prayer that, I can be home more with the family, because now we're jumping ahead 25 years, and we got the children are growing and getting married, and I never was addicted to the road. I lived in trucking all my life. I actually ran from it. I didn't start driving truck till I was 23 from my dad, because I wanted something else out of life. But it ended up that I got involved, and then this all revolved. So I can tell you that part of the business was created to help my boys another route, and it really has been overwhelming. My oldest one pretty much runs the background in the computer. Unbelievable. You can't believe you can waste years in a computer and not be out in the counter. But this is a new lifestyle that I have a hard time grasping. But can't believe that machine is. That's where I'm at now. I am the one behind the desk making the orders, and it's only two of us that make the orders for the whole business. And I come in, and next thing I know, the help's checking out. I said, "What are you going to eat?" And no, we're going home. I said, "I didn't eat yet. I'm still sitting at the same spot." I thought when I get away from trucking, entertaining is going to be a little bit different, but it has been. But being home with the boys I wanted to be back home with the family. When I made one run without the child along, I felt like I just wasted a whole week. I mean, when she started getting she blames it on me for getting wrapped up in paperwork, and she couldn't go on the road as much more. And it got to where she just couldn't go on the road anymore because she couldn't leave for the week. I always took one or two boys along. I always had some along. But then we got to where we started, for the first time, our youngest one we put in school. We always had homeschooled up to that point. Then I could take him whenever. And of course, sometimes I was lacking when I was driving down the road to tell him what the math was or something. But it revolved to that. And now I'm here where I can be, and I'm enjoying. I actually love it. It's the little kick is that I got that warehouse in PA to take care of, and I'm not going to drive back and forth for free. So I take my truck and trailer and still do that.
This is a warehouse that you guys own?
Actually, her parents own I rent the warehouse and all from them. It's pretty much a revolving store. We got double the people walk in there than out here in the store. But my wife's brother came along with us 2 years ago, and he's phenomenal. He's taking care of things that just relieve me in a lot. But I pretty much do all the ordering for PA. I pretty much in behind the scenes of running the warehouse in PA, and then I got a guy here on the counter running Missouri. So even though I'm out here, I still know am controlling that over there. We don't have a storefront. We just have it walk-ins, and we ship out, or we do. I mean, it's just I do a lot of distributing in there. And my son, so I take care of that. I have my other helper here take care of Missouri. My son is behind the scenes on eBay and the website. Sometimes he probably thinks it's 24 hours a day, but it's amazing. And anybody tell me, well, what in the world would he do sitting in the house? I can't sometimes imagine, but I know he's just on the phone all the time. It's just amazing, but it's working really well. And
that's cool.
And we got family coming up, and hopefully they produce children fast because I'm getting older.
How old are you now, John?
I think my wife told me I'm 56.
Okay. That Kenworth that you bought in, what year was that? What year is the Kenworth? Is it 2000?
It's labeled 2000. I brought it home in December 99. Okay. So we ordered it. It was 3 months held up because I want the new motor coming out. So I actually waited for that. It's called a 6NZ Cat, and that's what it's got in. And that's what it still has today. I overhauled it once since I have it.
And you guys do not work that one a whole lot anymore?
No, it's my wife. I actually have it in her name, so if I fall over that, she has something to back her up. But that she likes that truck over the big bunk, and I don't know because the big bunk has got a shower and all, and I don't know how to tell you, but that's her baby. And well, when she got her CDL, that's actually what I forgot to tell you. We started going together. We're driving on a permit. I said, if you get your CDL, we'll buy a new truck. And I gave her a choice. We go to Hawaii or we buy a new truck if you pass your CDL test. She picked the truck over going to Hawaii, which then the next year we went to Hawaii. So she got them both. But she picked wisely because that truck now has over $1.8 million on it. Okay. And that's all us and the family doing it. The one we bought new. The big bunk we bought in... I don't even remember. It's an 03. I bought it as a repo. And the reason we actually went to that direction, I was going to get a big bunk built for the other one. And I was actually in the works of doing it and trying to coordinate with a guy to get this thing done. I actually even bought a second truck to run. So they put the big bunk on, we call it Little Blue for lack of saying, but that's Little Blue. Then I opened the paper one day here. It was a Sovereign Blue, exactly like mine, was repoed at a bank down in Kentucky. I was amazed at the color. I thought it was kind of home to, hey, this is for us. And actually prayed about the week before that. I said, something's got to give because the boys were crowding the floor when I sleep at night. Couldn't get up right. And I said, something's got to give here. And there that big bunk plopped out. I thought, well, this is an omen. Well, it literally took us 3 months later till we actually got it by a default of the bank having the feds shut them down. It was unbelievable. There's a lot of story behind that. Wow. But I was pretty much figured we didn't have the truck. When we went to look at it, it was pretty bad. And I told the bank they're crazy. Well, I found out I was right and the feds thought I was right and they shut the bank down, but over a whole bunch of other stuff. Okay. But anyway, I actually literally bought it through the government that shut the bank down.
Wow.
And history is now we have it's actually $1.8 million on that truck. It had 700,000 on we got, so we put over $1 million on that one. And that's history right there. And same motor, same everything. I rebuilt it too here actually recently. I rebuilt the motor until realizing I wasn't going to be on the road so much anymore, but
Right.
it's what it is.
It's got the Caterpillar in it as well.
6NZ cat.
Yep.
And I actually, when I did the last deal, I put a Super 10 in and got everybody excited about that. But I learned fuel mileage works pretty good with that combination. But
What's the bunk on? Is it a big ARI or something?
it's an ARI. It would be a 120 Studio. We went and totally stripped the bunk when we bought it.
Okay.
So it was literally 6 months on the shop floor until we got back together again. A lot of little things went on, but that's how we became. That's where it became.
Big thanks to John for spending some time with me during an extremely busy day for him at the Crossroads Truck Meet May 3rd out in California, Missouri. Show to pencil in for next year. Rissler and his wife, Karen, are owners of the Horse and Buggy Express business and the 2000 and 2003 Kenworth W900s you can see pictures of in the post that houses this edition of Overdrive Radio for May 12th, 2025. Catch both of them at overdriveonline.com/overdrive-radio and find his horse and buggy accessories shop in California, Missouri on US 50 west of Jefferson City or via horseandbuggychrome.com. Now, on to the commercial trucking origin story of April Trucker of the Month, George Kincaid, owner-operator headquartered in Quinwood, West Virginia. Here's George taking us back to his high school graduation and a youth steeped in trucking after a rundown of the equipment he's running today, including a flatbed trailer he owns.
48-foot flat. And then I've actually been working with another guy, too, on some other hauls, been hauling some byproducts from sawmills like wood chips and sawdust and stuff with his trailers too, so that's kind of opened up some more work.
Are those hoppers or dump trailers, that kind of thing?
Yeah, tippers you call them. You just it's like a van with a tailgate on the back and it's open top.
Okay.
And they you just back them on a dump, and the hydraulic dump lifts the trailer up and dumps everything out the back. And then, but 99% of it is flatbed work still.
What's your truck?
It's a 2001 Western Star 4900 EX.
I think you've been an owner operator for, I think you said 14 years or so. Have you had that truck all that time, or is it a different one?
No, I had a Kenworth W900 to start, and
Okay.
I sold it in 2018 and bought this Western Star in 2018. And I've had it ever since.
Was the W900 an older model?
Yes, it was a 1992 model. It was a great truck. I was just looking for something different.
Did you buy that? Where'd you find that Western Star?
I actually found it from a local trucker here at home.
Okay.
He had it advertised for sale, and I'd actually set out to go to South Bend, Indiana to buy another Kenworth. And then I remember seeing this one, and it was only 30 miles from home. I said, well, I'm going to see if he still got it. And he did. And I ended up with it. It had a lot better specs anyway and a lot closer to home. It's got a 550 Caterpillar. Yeah, this one is, it's actually the Millennial Edition. I don't know if you remember those. They were kind of burgundy collared with the silver stripes up the side. It's titled as a 2001 model, but it was built in November of 1999, and it's got a 99 model 6NZ Caterpillar in it, which just barely squeezes it in to be ELD exempt. If we go back to the very beginning, I worked for a little local furniture store in the 90s right out of high school, and as soon as I turned 21, to work across state lines, they started sending me all over the South in the 2-ton 6-wheeler and to the furniture factories picking up furniture for the store. And that was like, once or twice a week. I used to go to Georgia a lot to the carpet mills. And I guess that's really where the bug started. And then my dad knew a guy that was in trucking with the tractor trailers, and in the late '90s, we got to going with him on the weekends up in Ohio. He hauled hay back to West Virginia, and he'd let us go to learn to drive trucks. And then we helped him load hay, and it kind of, you know, it was beneficial to both sides of us. And then
Right.
he gave me my first full-time driving job hauling lumber and stuff. And then it's just that was around 1999, 2000, something like that. And then I've never looked back.
That small fleet owner's name is Paul Holland, and when Kincaid says we in that narration, he's talking about himself and his younger brother, both of whom, as noted up top, were steeped in trucking at a very young age.
We just rode and went several trips, learning all about the trucks, and he'd let us drive and learn. And then when he thought we was ready, we scheduled the road test, and he let us use his trucks to take the test and stuff. And then got started, and of course my brother was already working for another guy, but Mr. Holland gave me my first full-time driving job. So he said, I got this old Freightliner if you want to drive it. And I was running, I was on 85 model FLC, and it was only licensed for in-state. And he had me hauling wood pellets with it way back then. I was going to all these little hole-in-the-wall farm stores like Southern States and, these Tractor Supplies, whatever, all these little hole-in-the-wall stores way back in these hills. He said, you're going to learn to drive a truck doing that. He said, you're not going to learn anything going down the interstate to North Carolina. He said, you go across these mountains, these little towns. He said, you're going to learn how to drive a truck. So that's probably the best thing he ever did for me. Well, it was actually started as construction. He used to work on like where he's building shopping malls or roads or anything where they need rock crushed and road built and stuff. And then I guess it started slowing down back in the '90s, and he started trucking, and he just left the construction name on the company and Holland Construction. And then he trucked from then right up until I think it was like 2019 or something. He finally retired. Well, I worked for him for a couple of years, and I went and run a loader at a sawmill for a couple of years, and I went back to him for about another, say, I don't know, a year or so. Then after that, I went to work for another guy hauling logs locally for probably 8 or 9 years. After that,
that takes us right up into the kind of the big recession time period and the aftermath of that. It sounds like about the time when you decided to go out on your own. What was the circumstances there? I guess you say you were hauling logs.
Yeah, we was doing that, and actually worked for a couple different guys with that. And that's, like you say, 2008 rolled around, you know how things went then. And then the one guy went out, and then the other guy I went to work for, he held out for a little while longer. And then I guess it was things got so bad, and he just got out of the business too. And then around 2011, I guess, and I helped my brother. He was trucking for a while, and then I helped him around for a while. Then in 2013, I just got all my own stuff and went at it. I had the opportunity there, and it was just in the position to get my own if I wanted it. And I thought, well, I think this is something I need to try for myself. And so I did. I went out and got that old Kenworth and fixed it up a little bit, and I actually pulled logs with it for a little while, and then it wasn't really dependable, and I sold the log trailer and bought a flatbed, went to that side of things, and and that took me all the way up to here.
So you were working with when you first started there, when you got that Kenworth, were you leased on with somebody, or were you just hauling for some of the companies that you knew about in the area that were
some of the sawmills and stuff? I've had my own stuff on it from the get go, and I just started hauling for a couple local sawmills that I knew, and just whatever I could find on the side. And then up to this last couple of years, when everything else slowed down for everybody else, it started flooding the trucks in on that segment too. So it got
Okay.
really competitive, and for a one truck guy, and that's like this year, I've actually started on the spot market some with the load boards and stuff, which I never really had to do before.
Okay.
And then like I said, I have this friend that's got several trucks, and he's hooked in good with some other meals and stuff. And I kind of, haul for him where he had a truck down and when he needs help and stuff. And that kind of makes up the difference too. So
Okay.
it seems like there's more, not so much all my eggs in one basket anymore. Bought my first flatbed in 2013. And
Okay.
I was pulling logs for the first part.
Yeah.
Then up about the fall of that year is when I switched over to flatbed.
Okay. So it was quick. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't very long.
Yeah. When you're pulling
Flatbed.
for sawmills, you hauling lumber.
Yeah, lumber, and there's one wood pellet plant for heating that I haul some. Of course, it hadn't been a lot of business there the last few years, but it used to be in the fall of the year. That kept us real busy, and then everybody stocking up for winter time. But
Yeah.
still occasionally haul some of that, and then but it's mostly lumber and railroad ties, stuff like that. Then the spot market loads from the boards this time of year, landscaping materials like mulch and compost and stuff. There's a lot of that moving, so I've been doing some of that too.
Is that coming out of West Virginia, or is that getting you back in there?
Well, a little bit of both. There's a couple of the places that makes it here in West Virginia, like in the top part of the state. I live in the bottom part, and if I take a load of lumber like up to Pennsylvania or something, I'll stop by up there, like it's at
Okay.
Brewston Mills, and get a load coming back home, and or back to to one of my regular meals that I can reload and go back out again. And then there's two or three one out in Virginia too that we can reload to come back home with too, out around Richmond and Culpeper, places like that. When things were really moving with lumber, we took loads upon loads of lumber to North Carolina. Usually, it was the furniture capital of the world. But these last few
Right.
years, it's kind of a lot of those places have shut down, and it's just seems like things have switched more over to like railroad ties and pallet material and stuff as far as the lumber goes. But you
Right.
just kind of it's not as lucrative as it used to be.
George Kincaid's worked on the pivot to more landscaping-related freight, laboring to solidify relationships with brokers he's booked much of that work with in recent years.
The first load I hauled, I was actually unloading a load of lumber like 2 miles from one of the mulch places, and I saw this load on the load board, and I called this broker, and they said, yeah, that'd be great. And we got set up, and then they kind of, told me, said, well, we have a few of these loads in West Virginia, said we'd rather work with one person than, just
Yeah.
whoever we can get, whenever we can get. And I've actually hauled
Yeah.
several loads for them, and it's, and I'll get emails from them offering me loads, now. So it's kind of,
Yeah.
it's starting. I mean, I'm not saying I'm there yet, but it's kind of working on getting some relationships built. I've hauled some for one broker, and it pays great. I mean, really great for the miles you run. And then I think one was up to like $6-7 a mile or something. And then another one, I hauled one for another one, which was maybe half that or so. So then the same broker may have that pays well on one load, might not pay as much. It depends on the area it's going to and how bad they need it there and the demand. And
Yeah.
if you're willing to go where a lot of people don't really want to go, you can usually rake in a little bit more on it.
Any examples of that in terms of the destination where you've been able to, or the pickup spot where you've been able to kind of capitalize on that?
Well, I've actually, and these were just in-state local runs. I ran a load from Brewston Mills, which is up near the Maryland line, down to Ripley, West Virginia, and Spencer, West Virginia, and they were paying like like 9 and 950, to
Yeah.
run 170 miles.
Right.
And
You can do a couple of those in a day. I mean, I guess that's the problem, right? Like that's why they pay so much, because they're very short, right?
some of these places are going to these little towns that's way back in the hills and these little winding 2-lane roads, and
Yeah.
a lot of people don't really want to take them. The real easy ones where they know they'll get snatched up right now, so they ain't too worried about those. But
Yeah.
usually the one that's a little bit less desirable, you can, come out pretty good on them.
And you're well set up for that, particularly for these West Virginia short hauls, because hey, that's where you've lived your life, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Anytime you can make decent money and stay closer to home, that's a win, I think. But, I'll go anywhere, but if I can make what I need going across the parking lot, while I go across the country. I guess the thing I'm most proud of is just being able to have done it and put my name on the door and, do
right.
something I want to do. But I've
Right.
actually, I've met a lot of great people along this
Right.
way. And plus, even like working on the trucks, there's not a part of a truck or trailer that I've not been into myself,
Right.
unless I just wanted somebody else to do it. And that's valuable knowledge too, I think, save yourself a lot of money. The whole general experience and all, I've enjoyed it all.
Do you do your all your maintenance pretty much yourself, like your just general maintenance?
Yeah, I do everything. Unless it's just something dead of winter or something, I just don't feel like fooling with it. But I have done that a time or two, but 9 times out of 10, you got to go back over it yourself anyway. So it's hard to find anybody trustworthy to work on your stuff. As I'm
Right.
getting older, I wouldn't mind paying somebody else to do it sometimes. But if you could find somebody a little more trustworthy, but yeah, I do everything. Oil changes. I know a lot of people are with the extended oil changes and stuff, but I'm more there. I was brought up in. I'm 10 to 12,000, maybe 15 if you're running over the road. Is about as far as I'll take an oil change.
Okay.
But it's mostly around 10, 12,000, and greasing is the main thing. Greasing the truck is the life of the truck, and whether it needs everything greased or not, I'm up under it every weekend at least. Checking things out and
Right.
making sure. And then even during the week on trips, constantly looking. I'm always looking up under the truck and looking everywhere, just try to
Yep.
spot troubles before they start. Well, greasing it one day, I saw one of the torque arm bushings was getting ready to squirt out and stuff. So, I thought, well, I'll go ahead and order that for it. And then, actually, just a couple weeks ago, I was putting new steer axle brakes on it because it was getting due for them. And then I pulled it off. I saw, it wasn't dripping, it wasn't wet yet, but you could see the oil seeping a little bit. So, it's going to need a wheel seal before long. So,
Yeah.
I thought, well, just go ahead and do that while we're here while I was doing that, I cleaned the wheel bearings up, and that outer wheel bearing's starting to look a little wore, a little rough. So, just go ahead and slap some new wheel bearings in it while we're at it.
Right.
But just stuff
Right.
like that, like even when you're under it greasing, if you see a little damp, around the wheel seal on the inside, it's going to be a problem before too awful long. So it's best just go ahead and put a new seal in it before it gets to be a drip,
Sure.
Just little stuff like that. And then, or if you can see an exhaust pipe getting ready to have a hole in it or something,
Right.
and I'm just always looking at everything. And experience is the best teacher. And
Right.
is some of the stuff that happened first starting out way back when, I'd have been sometimes just as lost as anybody.
Yeah.
Then each time you learn, you put it in your memory bank, and you say, well, I've seen this before, I know exactly what to do now. And then you're not sitting there calling somebody for to come fix it, you're fixing it before it even becomes a problem.
Right.
And it's a lot easier to fix something in your driveway than it is out on the road somewhere calling somebody.
Owner-operator George Kincaid, learning every day for certain with increasing experience. As noted, he was our Trucker of the Month for April, putting him in the running for the Trucker of the Year award for 2025. For your own chance at top honors and a prized Bostrom seat for the ultimate winner, enter your business or that of another deserving owner-operator you admire via overdriveonline.com/toptrucker. Entries are open through the fall for owners of up to 3 trucks. That's overdriveonline.com/toptrucker. Here's a big thanks for listening. Find that link in the show notes for this podcast wherever you're listening. Overdrive Radio is on Spotify and SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts and YouTube, Overdrive's Facebook page, and any listening platform, really. Leave us a review there if you're enjoying these, and big thanks in advance for it. Overdrive Radio is a production of Overdrive, the voice of the American trucker. It's edited and produced by me, Todd Dills, with the acoustic guitar and other support of trucker songwriter Long Haul Paul Marhofer. The theme is Legend of the Snake Man by Marhofer, featuring the guitar work of Travis, the Snake Man himself, Whammock, Terry Two Socks Richardson on bass, keys by Tishomingo Jim Whitehead, and on drums, Andrew Marshall. The podcast is backed up further by Overdrive's own social media coordinator, Jasmine Campbell, senior editor Matt Cole, executive editor Alex Lockie, and video editors Lawson Rudersel and Mr. Andrew Gwynn. See you next time.